All right, and first up, we would like to introduce our very first speaker for the event, Nikiya Simpson. She is actually an organizer for GDG Little Rock and a WTM ambassador. She specializes in data-driven web applications and building technology solutions for social impact. Nikiya is also a graduate student at Georgia Tech studying computer science. With a concentration in interactive intelligence. So thank you, Nikiya, for joining us. I will now pass it off to you so you can begin giving your presentation. So let me...
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's a great introduction.
Thanks.
Okay.
Awesome. All right, and you are free to now present.
All right, let's see here. I'm going to get my slides going here. Make sure I put this up here this side so I can kind of see what's going on there. All right. Thank you. Can you all see my presentation? Thank you so much. Well, thank you, Hannah and GDG Columbia, for inviting me to this International Women's Day event. Again, my name is Nikiya. I'm a systems developer and instructor at the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences, College of Public Health, and an instructor. I teach SQL courses on LinkedIn. Today, I'll be presenting on designing the career that you want with the tech skills that you have. Most of the information I'll present today is based on my personal journey. And I created this presentation to help encourage women, especially during this month, to find a career that best fits them, their lifestyle, and their needs. Now, for those of you who are wondering, this doesn't pertain to just women in the tech industry. It can apply to anyone with any set of skills if you're wanting to transition from one role to another, or just to do something new. So if you have a pen and paper, I encourage you to get those things because we're going to write down some ideas today. Let's begin with this. How many of you all have little ones? If you're like me and you have some little humans running around, you'll probably find some of these things all over your house. Well, I love building Legos with my boys. It's a great time for bonding and getting those creative juices flowing. And they usually come in a set with some instructions on how to build a car or a spaceship or a boat or something like that. But once when you build that set, it rarely stays put together. It usually ends up in pieces everywhere, and my kids just enjoy destroying their Lego sets. But what we know is that the individual pieces themselves are not broken. So we usually can take those individual pieces and build something completely different. And note that we're still using the same pieces that we have. We're just using them to create something new. So what if we could apply that to our careers and think of those little Lego blocks as our skills and our experiences? And we may start off one career job, and we can take our skills and rearrange them and apply them to new roles, industries, and opportunities. So I wanted to start off a little bit about my journey. So from childhood, I was always interested in health sciences, computing, and design. And in undergrad, I wanted to be a computer science major, but my advisor talked me into majoring in MIS, which is more business focused, but just a little bit of programming. But because my interest was in health sciences and computing, I majored in both MIS and biology. And I ended up graduating with the MIS degree, but with a minor in biology because I got burned out. I was a bit of an overachiever. But still interested in computer science. I went back after graduating and studied computer science for another year postgraduate. But like some other graduate students, I really wasn't making that much money. I ended up going into the workforce because I could get paid a lot more working as an analyst. So I quit graduate school. I took the job as an analyst and worked at a data marketing firm for about 6 years. And during that time, it was just easier to finish the master's degree in business because the business school was a little bit easier for me to kind of get through than going back and studying computer science. And I could just finish the master's degree and be done with it, right? But I didn't really use the MBA degree. I just figured that's what I needed to do because you graduate school and you get your master's degree, right? So that's what I did. Well, while I was at the data marketing firm, I gained a lot of skills, great skills. I was able to run queries or reports on some of the largest data sets you've ever seen in the world. I worked on new and emerging technologies, worked with clients from Disney to AT&T, Sprint, clients all over the world. And I was able to be a part of knowledgeable teams and do new implementations. It was a great experience, and I'm very grateful for that experience and being able to work there. There just came a point where I just wasn't motivated anymore. I had great coworkers. I could do the job well. However, I felt like I was called to do something more meaningful. And that was just my experience. I learned I wasn't interested in putting a lot of work or a lot of hours in just to get people to buy things that they didn't really need. I wanted to help improve lives and make an impact. So that led me to go back to the academic space and working at the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences College of Public Health, where our mission there is to help improve the health and lives of Arkansans. So today I not only get to help students achieve their academic aspirations, but also be a part of research that's impactful and communities that are on the ground doing real work, helping to improve people's lives. So what's important to you? First of all, your job does not define you. Know that you're a whole person worthy of respect and love and all the good things, regardless of what you do for work. However, your job still is a big chunk of your day. And if you're mid-career like me, you start to really take an assessment of what you really want, especially during the pandemic where you have lots of time to really think what motivates you. And if you could do anything for free, what would that be? What would that look like? Would it be creating Lego sets? But in the past year or so, career coaching and counseling also really helped me get clarity on what it is I really want out of my career. It's a great investment. I encourage you and anyone listening to find a career coach to help you find this. And I'll share some of the things today that I discovered that can help you as well. Let's start with what motivates you. What's your motivation? For me, like many of you, my number one motivation is family. Before I had kids, I would spend 60 to 80 hours working at a job, stressed. I'd work all night, all weekend. And I knew that something that helped me, I knew I would need something that helped me not go insane while trying to take care of my family and my small children. And if any of you have kids, you know that's a full-time job in itself. And ultimately, I wanted to be here for my family. And stress kills people, and I want to live. And not just live, but exist. Not just exist, but thrive. I wanted to make sure that my mental health and well-being would remain a priority. To be in a place where you feel valued and heard, where my ideas wouldn't go somewhere to die, but would at least be considered, and where diversity, equity, and inclusion are not just talking points, but are real action items in your plans to improve outcomes. So I also love learning. And so opportunities to learn something new all the time are important to me. I also wanted to make an impact in the lives of others. So going back to incorporating my background, I also wanted to contribute to improving health and wellness of others. So by finding your motivators, it will help us design a career that best fits us. So what motivates you? If you have some pen and paper, just take 1-2 minutes to write down 1 or 2 things that motivate you. I mean, not 1 to 2 things, but as many things as you can within a minute of what really motivates you, not just professionally, not just what skills I want to know, but really what motivates you as a person. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and move forward. So let's use our motivations as our foundation, like that green grid that we can put the Lego blocks on. Well, for example, those motivations included some things that I wanted to learn something new often, improve the lives of others, work on different projects, flexibility, balance, diversity, mental health and wellness. Those things motivate me, are important to me. So next we'll add our skills and experience as the building blocks on that foundation. And I'll also use these motivations to include in my mission statement, which I'll show that we'll put together at the end of this presentation. So let's put those Lego blocks on here. Here's a strategy that helped me. I use 3 T's, well, because it's easier to remember. So what we'll do is we'll take an inventory of what we have. And then we'll transfer some skills or blocks over from our set that we have to our new set. And then where there's some missing pieces, we'll translate those into something, from something we have into something that we need. So let's start by taking an inventory of the skills that we have. What skills and experiences do I have now that I could possibly use in the next role that I want? And can I use those exact same skills? So here's an example of my journey. I started off an analyst. I want to go more of an engineering role. So we'll start off by building our foundation, our existing skills, knowledge, and experience. And by all means, just use this as a template. We're creating 2 columns of the role that you have in the past, or one that you have now, and the role that you want in the future. So in the analyst column, I list skills like SQL, because that's pretty much the coding language I use every day. Customer training and support, documentation, heavy on business intelligence tools. We use a lot of Perl and Unix command lines, Linux command lines, a knowledge of the ETL process from data warehousing to data mart, data visualization, and some other things could be like creating good queries, understanding relational databases. And those blocks, there's some of those things that I could possibly just take and move over to an engineering role. So now what's in your inventory? Write down your current role or a past role in one column, and then write down your next role that you may want to pursue or that you're thinking about in the next column. And take 1 to 2 minutes to think of what you currently have. Some that could be tech skills, it could be soft skills, it could be something that you even learned in college that you just haven't used in a while. But those are things that are part of your inventory that you can add. And we'll just take maybe one minute or so to write those things down. Okay. So next, we're going to take those skills in our inventory, and we're going to figure out what we can directly take to this next role. In this case, a developer. So some things we can take directly there. And so even if you know a code language, that's kind of transferable because that's great. I mean, just understanding how logic works is a transferable skill. So if you know an if and else statement in Java, or you know if then else statement or case statement in SQL, then you will at least be able to read and understand an if then else statement like Python or C++ or C#. So don't forget that just the knowledge of being able to read code is a skill in itself. And don't forget soft skills like good communication, leadership, collaboration, writing good documentation. Those are transferable skills. So let's see. We're going to now write down some of those skills that you can transfer over. I think we just kind of, oh no, we talked about inventory. So now let's talk about what are those skills that we can transfer over. So just take about 1 minute to think about the skill that you have in your inventory and what you can transfer over to a new role or the role that you may want to have. All right. Next, we can also translate our skills. So I have some building blocks, but they're not Legos. Maybe they're Mega blocks or something, but I'm still going to use them because I'm building something, right? So we may have some pieces that are missing, but we know that this is where we can kind of fill in some blanks there. We can use some of the things that we have, and they're not necessarily exactly what they need to be, but we can still use them. So in the case of like SQL and Python, there you may be familiar with one coding language and it's helpful in learning another one. So like for instance with SQL, like NoSQL, there are other database systems, data management systems, technologies that are easier for you to understand because you have this background knowledge that you can incorporate in using in this new in a new experience. So, and also think about this: if you're using SQL in like an on-premise setting, like a SQL server, and there may be an opportunity for you to work something in cloud environment, you could still use the knowledge of being able to create tables and run queries from an on-premise setting into a cloud setting. So that's another way where we're talking about translating skills. As a personal experience, I noticed that in learning Python data structures, it was easy for me to understand unique keys and key value pairs because of my experience in relational database design. It was something I learned back in undergrad, so it was one of the things that embedded, and it's something I really learned quickly, but I can now apply that knowledge to working with data structures in Python. So in this example, I could translate the skills I learned also into like data quality testing and error handling, translate that into some unit tests for software code. I can use my experience in creating report layouts and business intelligence tools and how to create layouts and design of web pages. So it doesn't have to necessarily be the exact same skill. It could just translate. Another thing to think about is, do I need to take some additional classes to revisit some concepts that I might not have used in a while? Notice I've had to do that too. Because as time progresses, new methods, libraries, frameworks are developed. So some things that we've learned in the past now can be done more efficiently. So we may just have to take a tune-up or a refresher course. So now we're going to write down some of those skills we can translate to something new. So take 1 or 2 minutes to think of some of those things that you know that you have the knowledge base to take that skill and transfer or translate it into another skill that can be useful in the next role or job description. All right. Next, finally, let's fill in some gaps. And this is just a way to use your resources and your community, because we need support, right? I'd advise you to connect with a career coach that will help you clarify your goals. Don't forget about investing in yourself. Take those online courses to help you refresh the skills that you have. You may add on to it, but I want to really encourage you to not forget the skills that you currently have, so that you can make sure that you're utilizing those. Go to meetups like these, meet new people, discover new opportunities, and find a community of like-minded people that will support you and build you up as you desire to go higher and higher. Finally, let's put this all together. Once you have taken inventory of what you have and figure out how you can transfer and translate your skills, you can use your foundation to create the role that's best fit for you. And another thing that helped me was to create a mission statement, something outside of the organization that you work for that's specifically for you. This is my mission statement. It incorporates my background and interests, my goals all together in a mission statement specifically for me, including what I want to become. And note that it does not stay the same. I keep it on my LinkedIn profile, and it changes often. It changes as I grow and as I develop who I really want. As you grow older, you kind of change to who you want to be. So I encourage you today to take a few minutes, if you haven't already, to create your own personal mission statement, and let that be the driver that helps you create your career. So you do not by any means have to finish a personal mission statement today. But the idea is just to get started on what you think that would look like. And just take just a couple of minutes, 1 to 2 minutes, to think about your foundation. What motivates you, your background, your interests outside of your organization, and how you can contribute the skills that you currently have, and put those in there in a way that you're defining what your mission out here is in your career. So we'll just take 1 to 2 minutes to create that mission statement, or just a few sentences. It doesn't have to be clear and concise. We're not sharing it if you don't want to, but just to get started on one. We'll give y'all a minute. You guys doing okay out there? I can't see any. I'm looking at my notes. So how's everybody doing?
Good so far.
Good. Okay, good.
Yeah. Yep. Really good.
Awesome. Okay, cool. All right. So I'm going to go ahead, and you guys can continue to work on those. I want to make sure that I'm staying on time. I'll go to the next slide. I wanted to shout out my career coach. And I met Letitia probably the summer of 2019. And it was one of those times where I was like, what is it I really want to do? What do I want to be when I grow up? Am I on the right track, kind of deal? So I wanted to talk to her, and I met her through just community, meetups, different groups for women in tech, people of color in tech, and I found Letitia as a career coach, and I invested in some of her time. And I wanted to thank her for helping find some clarity in my career. And at the time, I'm sure it wasn't what I wanted. Am I on the right track? Am I doing the right things to grow? I've kind of reached the point where my kids are a little older. I can invest more into myself. So I really wanted to sit down with a career coach. And she was one of the people that helped me to talk through a lot of what I'm talking through with you all today. So I'm still growing and learning. Went back to school during the time. But I want to shout out amazing women like her that helped me through my journey. And I also wanted to share, she has a journal, a career journal that I also have. That's for women, a career journal for women. And I put her website out there, so you can see it for yourself, because I wanted to show that she's an amazing person and she has some really cool tools out there for people that are wanting to develop their career like me. So I don't have any financial interest in that. I just wanted to shout her out because I think she's amazing. And she really was instrumental in helping me get through some career stuff. So that is my presentation for today. And it was, I hope this is helpful in your journey. It was helpful going through it, going through mine. I hope you will learn something today. You can catch me on LinkedIn or LinkedIn Learning or Twitter. I don't really talk much on Twitter, not much about anything important. But thank you all, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the speakers today, the incredible speakers today. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer any questions you have.
Awesome. Thank you, Nikiya. That was super informative. Yeah, so if anybody does have questions, feel free to speak up now, or if you feel more comfortable with putting your questions in the chat, go for it. So yeah, if you need a couple of minutes, feel free to do that. But I do have a few questions for you, Nikiya. So when it comes to finding a career coach, what is the best avenue? Is it like going on LinkedIn and doing some research and seeing, or are there other avenues like going to meetups and maybe finding them there? Like, what are some of the ways that, people can, do in order to find those career coaches that work for them?
Yeah, I've been to maybe 3 International Women's Day events this past season. I think I've come across a few already. So I think going to events like these are a really great way to find career coaches. LinkedIn's a great avenue. Just Googling career coaches. I ended up having to find mine through a Slack group that I was in. So she had some events where just had a free event that you could come to and just talk about your career, and I ended up signing up to get a career coach. And I think, when I say immediate investment returns, like you see a career coach, they're like, yes, do this.
Yeah.
And you see in that investment, you see the return on investment immediately, especially if you're really trying to take a next step or do something. Like if you're stable and defining your career, I think that's great. But even if you are, you may just want to know, how do I, get a promotion or transfer to senior leadership roles or become an entrepreneur? I have an idea. I want to do a startup. Things like that are great for career coaches.
Awesome. And then with those career coaches, do you meet like on a weekly basis, or is it monthly, or how often would you say would be a good amount of time to meet with them?
It's different. My experience, I think we went every 2 weeks. We met every 2 weeks for about a period of 3 months. And there was some exercises that we do in the meantime, in between times we were meeting. So, but I think everyone's different. It probably depends on the packages that they offer. Mm-hmm. But that was the approach that we take. So. Okay, awesome. That's really good.
Does anyone else have questions? Miranda, Moy, I see Samita just joined. Hi, Samita.
I've got a quick question, but if you had to pick, like, what's the best piece of advice your career coach has given you so far?
Oh, so many. one of the things that I had a difficulty with talking about my accomplishments. Like I don't know if it's a woman thing or maybe it's just me introvert thing. I have a really hard time saying all the great things that I was doing. I was like, well, and once you kind of write those things, I was like, oh yeah, I did do that, and oh yeah, that was pretty cool, and I have done some really cool things. And talking to somebody one on one about those things, you really don't realize how much you've accomplished. And also being your advocate, your own advocate. Sometimes we depend on maybe a boss or a leader going to say, "Oh, she's doing a good job. We should give her a promotion." But a lot of times it doesn't work like that. You have to be the one that says, "Hey, I've done this, this, and this." I want to be able to go to the next role or the next level. What does that look like for me? And being able to say, well, if it's not going to happen here, well, I'll take my my skills and talents somewhere else and figure out what that looks like over there. So it's really about my career coach was able to give me some great advice on advocating for myself and seeing myself worth. So, and all the things that I was able to accomplish.
Gotcha. Thank you.